Okay, here we are with Matthew Pavlich, special comments expert commentator with Fox Footy. Of course, you can catch it on Kayo Sports, especially this weekend, the only place to watch Fremantle v Melbourne live this Saturday on Kayo Sports. Pav, welcome.
Nice to be here, Scully. And yeah, Super Saturday in Melbourne on Fox. Looking forward to this one.
So I want to just pick your brain a little bit about doing special comments with Fox Footy. What's the process? How much time are you spending researching games?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
start with that.
So always try to watch at least some part of the week, the game the week before. So, for instance, we're doing this weekend. We've
West
got
Coast Essendon.
So I wasn't at the game, either game last week.
I was at both.
Yeah, there you go. So you've already done your prep. So I'll try to watch at least a fair portion of those games to understand. I did see some of the Essendon and Melbourne game on TV last week. Didn't see any of the West Coast Carlton game. Look at the stats, and it would suggest that Carlton absolutely smashed them. But you kind of want to see how it played out as well. So try to watch a little bit of the games the week before. And then go through all the key stats and just get a sense of not only what happened last week, but what's the trend over the last 4 weeks and what's broadly the trend around, these two teams over the last 12 months. What's the average age? What's the experience? Who are they picking? Just things that I guess arm you with enough information that you can quickly go to it when you need to in a live broadcast. So, and we speak to the producers, understand what the storylines or the narratives might be leading into the game, things to look out for. You work with them on particular graphics as it relates to some of the stories you want to tell pre-game, in-game.
Yeah.
But, it comes equally, it's instinctive. So the game's instinctive, so the commentators also have to be instinctive. So being well prepared does allow you to be that.
So we see how much Adam Papaleo we work with a lot. We see how much prep he does. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right. And we had Matt Hill on the show last week. He's incredible too. And it's interesting you say that from a preparation point of view, because from a special comments, which I do with you, you can't prepare to see someone, if there's a big report maybe or a big mark, you just got to watch it. So you got to have all this data in front of you and you've got that, but you also have to watch and call. Like, how do you find the balance between those two?
Well, so I think generally you're reacting to what's happening. So it's your instinct to, okay, that was either good play from that opposition or bad play or whatever else in between. But then you're also trying to draw what the champion data stats are there and what they're saying and see if there is a storyline. So sometimes you think, geez, Essendon haven't won a clearance for a little while. And you can then go and ratify that, by having a quick look down at the stats. Or sometimes you might go, geez, their stoppages are really not going that well. What's the scores? And actually the inverse is happening. So you want to make sure that, I guess, what you're naturally seeing and the years of experience and the university degree that we did in AFL footy is actually being backed up by some data as well. So, and you get moments, you get breaks in the game, and particularly if there's, a good rapport between the commentators, you can kind of just, let someone go for a little while you're deep diving into what the stats are telling you.
Keen to know what you think makes a good call. Is it moments in the game and a really good game, or is it, chemistry amongst the sort of broadcast crew? Because there's a lot going on. You got the play-by-play, you got special comments, you got boundary, sometimes two on the boundary, you got producers chatting to you, and then you got the game. Like, what makes a good call?
I think chemistry is really important between the people you're working with. A great caller who owns the big moments, the big specky, the great goal, the big tackle, and letting that moment give that air and not actually jumping in and say, oh, what a great tackle, or why didn't he kick it? Like, just because if I think back to when I grew up, when you're watching, Olympic games or you're watching cricket or the great callers, it was just their voice and then the crowd reaction. And so, trying to remind yourself that to give it a bit of airtime. And then explaining to the guests at home some of the thinking, some of the terminology, some of the strategy that we're seeing. And you don't always get that time to do that properly on game day because, one, it's sometimes hard to identify, and two, you don't have the specific time set out to do so. But educating the viewer at home on something they may not know, tell me or tell them something they don't know, I think is really important.
The silent element is big. We had Matt Hill talk about it for a Wimbledon final. And some of the best commentary he's ever heard was silence for about 6 minutes. And we've just seen it with Rory McIlroy. I don't know if you saw when he won it, But basically, I reckon they said about 10 words in 7 minutes.
And just let...
Yeah, silence, which maybe you and I are probably out of a job if you just shut up and let the crowd do the talking.
Well, but like, when it's a big moment, it was it Harley Reid last year, Paps calls the goal, unbelievable, and just let the crowd. And I remember we just thought, just let that sit because it was a moment, right? I think it turned out to be goal of the year, perhaps.
Yeah, probably the call team though, more than the player. The call team was really good. But again, it was less
just
is
letting
more.
it breathe,
Yep.
letting it breathe, and less is more. I think we all get caught up in sometimes trying to make the story make sense, and I think that's important for the viewer at home from a tactical perspective. But less is more generally.
What's the hardest part of specials?
The hardest part is saying what you really want to say, and I think making sure that it's authentic, but also in a way that so calling it as it is, you have to do, but in a way that's so. I've taken the view that I'm not going to absolutely torch a player because I know how hard it is to play, and I'm not absolutely going to torch a coach because I admire someone who puts everything into that. Other people in the media can do that for me, but that I'm not going to sugarcoat poor acts. I'm not going to sugarcoat a bad performance, but just knowing where the line is on that, particularly given your own relationships in the games, can sometimes be a challenge.
Yeah, well, so is that difficult?
I think
Freo legend calling Freo games.
Well, I've been told that I'm too hard on Freo. I've been told that I'm too soft on Freo. I mean, it's probably somewhere in between. I don't really care.
Don't give me a Chris Scott. I don't really care what people think.
Well, when it comes to commentating, so the viewer and the consumer at home is really important because they want to make sure that we like the people that are on air, we like the content that's coming out. But in the end, if you're beholden or you're bending to too many people, then you're not authentic. Then you're not your own self. So I'm just going to keep being me because I think that kind of works.
Yep, I like that. And how long were you on the boundary for? And how quickly did you get upstairs to the Palace?
I got to the Palace pretty quickly. I think because most of the Fox crew, Brad Johnson, Cam Mooney, Jared Healy, they were pretty keen not to travel to Perth like they always used to on that Sunday horror flight generally. So they were like, yep, you can go straight up there. COVID hit, that changed everything for all the reasons we know. I was downstairs, I was upstairs, I was isolated. It was like back playing at Free on the early days, back to midfield to forward. So, but it's nice to kind of. I think the role upstairs, or that special comms role that you can build that chemistry with the team's a good role to be in.
Had any howlers that you can remember
in broadcasting?
So I had I was on the boundary, meant to be paying attention. I think I must have been looking at stats, and I looked up and Sean Darcy was lying on the ground. And you boys upstairs from the Palace just go, Scully, what's going on down there?
Nothing.
I had no idea. Hadn't seen a thing. And I look up, and I'm good with names because I've watched a lot of footy. And I look up, knew it was Sean Darcy, and I say, boy, Luke Darcy looks like he's in trouble down here. Right? And I could hear you doing something like that. Or silence is often the worst thing then. And luckily, it was enough of a reaction to go, 2-second breath and go, of course, Luke Darcy played. Luke Darcy was great in the 90s for the Bulldogs. One of my favourite players. Anyway, Sean's out here today.
Well, and generally, if you've got good, most of the guys look after each other. There's a bit you'll pick up on that, and either you'll leave it or you'll kind of say, "Oh yeah, that Sam Darcy that was," or
So what's the
Luke Darcy?
What's kosher? Is it don't bring it up, or you meant to correct the person?
Well, we talk about this a little bit. I think supporting your teammate, because your teammates now is actually going to have to support them. That sometimes could be, just let that one slide, or just saying, yeah, Luke Darcy it was, or sorry, Sean Darcy it was,
or to have a laugh.
Correct.
Yeah. You would,
Nah.
You get a backman wrong. I'm like, Pav, you wouldn't even know what the backline is.
Correct. Yeah. I think I'm sure I've called players wrong. The Brayshaw and Gaff one was an interesting one.
Yeah.
To be a part of, because I had a visceral reaction to that, as in he just got smashed behind the play. You can't do that.
You said that.
No, but I had I remember the ball was moving down one way, and I remember your eye gets caught, right?
Yeah.
And I sort of remember looking back and seeing these two pushing, and then all of a sudden the big haymaker, and I went, sort of just a reaction to it. And then obviously it played out, and poor Andy's then come up, and I just remember going, I had a reaction to that, and that was obviously for years of rivalry against the Eagles. So
and would have kept replaying and replaying.
Yeah, and then your reaction is, you can't, that's 8 weeks, he's gone, that's season over, and I remember. And then there was a bit of maybe he was trying to push him, and it was like, no, he's just hit him he's king hit him. How can you? And so, it's hard to sometimes hold your emotion in those examples. I know I never played with Andy, but there was just there's sometimes that tension that exists.
I like it. Pav, we're gonna have to wrap things up. You're a busy man, so am I. I want to finish with a little bit of special comments work for you. I've got 3 clips to play you. So, I mean, you know how specials work. For people who don't, play-by-play callers will call moments, and then special comments will basically, call the reaction or the replay. So I want you to just treat this as if someone's called it. All right, we're not going to have the volume, but let's have a look at. A positive of Matt Pavlich. No, this is. Let's get this.
Hang on, let me guess. This is you and I.
Not yet. No. You know what this is.
I don't.
Okay, so this is going to be. I'll do a little play-by-play, and you can call it off specials. All right. Okay. West Coast Freo. Freo down by 16 at the moment, going okay, but not great. Big spoil by Hearn. Gaff tackle. Ball spills out. Heads towards the boundary. Pavlich stays in. Gets it done. And then I'll shut up, and what's the reaction?
He probably should have centered that. He's lucky he kicked that Pavlich, because if he didn't, Ross Lyon would have been right into him. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Look at this, though. The old boy. What a finish. And just shows the guns for the crowd as well.
I like that. Oh, there's a Schofield with hair. Look out. So that's first clip. Well done. Give me a bit more emotion.
Okay, sorry. Hey, okay.
So there might not be a replay. I might just watch this a couple of times.
2000? Yeah.
Okay. Big game. Derby coming up ahead of us. I just lost the... here we go. Okay. Here we go. Game hasn't started yet. And we go down to Matthew Pavlich on the boundary. What's going on here,
Pav? Throwing punches. Look at this.
All right, call it like you're calling it. Just pretend you're not the player.
Garner and Pavlich going at it. And,
no, I want a special now. So we're going to replay that. We're just going to go down on the boundary. Pav, what have we seen here?
The young Pavlich in his 16th game just pushing Gardner. Well, that's a bit... geez, look what's going on here. Hang on a second. Well, he's just throwing haymakers. Hopefully the umpire comes and reports Gardner.
Did he drop you there? What happened here now?
I think he just slipped over. Yeah, that was. I mean, God, that was. It was the only time in a footy field that I didn't fear, but there was just there was so much going on, haymakers being thrown the whole time. It was a bit like, this isn't really a game of footy for periods of the game. It was just,
mate, you were getting jabbed in the face in the goal square. Yeah. You don't roll up into the AFL to get haymakers. All right, last one. We'll just watch the action and then we can replay it. Okay. All right, so Freo down the line. Courage by Schofield. Oh, no.
Play on. No. Play on. Nothing wrong with that.
Let's watch that.
He was competing for the ball, I think.
Let's give us a look.
Has that gone 50?
Talk us through it.
I agree. Good bravery by Schofield. Back with the fight. I'm not sure if there's anything in that, though. As the umpire's called, that is a surprise. I can't believe. And he's been reported. What for? Matt Stevic, go home, son. What are you doing? I could have actually created a lot more damage. I looked after you.
Jeez, you weren't happy. Not happy and dragged. Is that what's happened?
No.
Was it an automatic drag at Freo?
No. Nah.
What were you doing on the bench? You just been any side of the bench.
Just my rotation. I'd already kicked 3 on you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all we've got time for. The only place to watch Fremantle v Melbourne live this Saturday is on Kayo Sports. Mate, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, Pav.
Yeah.
Good luck upstairs. Just feel free to throw down to me on the boundary.
I will. Make sure you're prepared.
Thank you.